So this video is going to be mainly about like what power does the external have over you, because this mostly came about being inspired by seeing news and understanding that you would have a negative reaction to it, and understandably so, but that's exactly the purpose of the news, is to get a negative reaction out of you. That's why it's designed the way it is. And so, that's why people avoid it. And, I avoid it too, understandably so. But are you avoiding it out of a neutral non-preference, or are you avoiding it because you're trying to avoid some sort of a reaction? And like, I understand, when you see these things, I've been there before, where it's like it just makes me angry, or it gives anxiety, or what have you, when you see a lot of the things happening in the world. But when you understand that this is all just essentially a dream, and there's, everyone's essentially kind of creating their own reality, not essentially, literally, everyone is creating their own reality, you can kind of take a bit of a step back and not have to feel that kind of anxiety. In the same exact sense that you don't feel anxiety for fictional characters that go through trauma. You might feel a temporary anxiety, like a faux anxiety, but it goes away very quickly as you get back to your regular life, because you understand that they're fictional characters. They're not real, so they don't really have to, suffer in that kind of a way. And you can apply that to this reality too, because this is just the same. We might perceive of a human lifetime as an extremely long thing, but this is a blink of an eye compared to the rest of your existence and who you really are. Because you're an infinite soul, infinite. And this is such a fleeting, temporary experience within what's essentially a video game, essentially. So when you realize that you are creating your reality based on your energy, that's why, it's just really, essentially best to avoid the news, because like you look at it, you might feel a negative emotion, and then you just put that negative energy out into the world, helping project this negativity miasma that just permeates everywhere, as everyone complains and argues and talks about the problem and worries about problems and has anxiety about all these things happening, and it's like, oh, I wish I could just go back to that time when I felt hope back in, the good old days. And it's like, you can feel that now, because not only because you can just feel it, you can just decide to feel hopeful, you can just decide to feel safe and confident and secure, but literally things are changing for the good on this planet. That's just fact. There are so many things happening behind the scenes that so many of us really just have no idea about, but the fact remains is the world will be heading in a positive direction. So ultimately, there's not really much to worry about. So the more you worry, the more you kind of prevent it from happening in your reality, and the more chance you have of not even really experiencing it, depending on how much you're investing into anxiety. Because if you're putting your whole life into anxiety and fear, and it's this whole narrative of, oh, fight the Illuminati, fight the cabal, we gotta be against them, that's just a whole level of, like, you're just gonna manifest that as your reality. You're just gonna manifest war, you're gonna manifest conflict, you're gonna manifest the negative scenario, because you're putting in negative. That's the input, is negative. So you get a negative output. So there will probably be people that might just shift to very terrible realities where, I don't know, the world does end. That's the thing, is there are infinite realities. Infinite. For every variation of anything that you can think of any timeline, it exists, from bad to good and everything in between. So you want to end up on the good one. You want to end up on the one where there's, equality and peace for all, and everyone is being treated fairly, and everyone is abundant and has what they need, and everyone's able to pursue their dreams in life. They have that freedom and ability, and etc. Those kinds of things. Well, we have peace and harmony with the earth. There's not a bunch of trash everywhere, etc. You can shift to that reality. That's what time is you shifting through realities. So it's about not, looking at a negative situation like pollution or corruption in the government and saying that it's a positive thing. It's not about that. It's about coming at a negative situation with a positive attitude and a positive energy so that you receive the positive outcome. Just like that, the positive you put in, the positive you get out. That's the thing, is like, who are the people that are inspired in a positive way towards solutions for whatever's happening in the world? If you're not inclined to that, then you really don't need to be giving your attention to these things. Because, there are people that will be providing solutions. That's why there are problems, so that we can define clearly what we don't want, and then define even more clearly what we do want. And then we can together build a beautiful world that is worth living on, that is worth us as a species. But the thing is so many people are getting wrapped up in the chaos, and they're getting wrapped up in this negative narrative. And I get it, I'm not condoning all that crap, but if you're getting super down when you give your attention to that, if you're getting angry and fearful and all that, you're not doing anybody a service. You're doing them a disservice, because you're helping contribute to this narrative that they have all this power and that they are so domineering and controlling and subjugating us and blah, blah, blah. The power is in your words, not in them. They have such a minuscule amount of power compared to what you think that they have, which is nothing whatsoever. All of the power is in you, all of it. And that's why they get you to hand your power to them by getting you to tell their story for them. Don't you see? They have these news stories, a lot of them fabricated, a lot of them even outdated. I've even heard of things where a news story happens and someone who's in the military who was actually in that, thing was like, what the hell? This is not, that happened several years ago, and they're saying this is live. So it's all just a show. All of the government and all of that and media, it's all fake. It's designed to get a reaction from you. It's nonsense. It's a clown show. It is infantile children playing with crayons. It is insignificant. And then they just get people to, to worry and to complain and to argue and to fight each other, and then to keep telling the story of, oh, these guys, they're controlling us. Oh, these guys, they're controlling us. Oh, these guys, they're controlling us. They're controlling us. They're controlling us. No. You are letting them with the power of your words. The fact remains is you cannot get to a happy ending without having happy actions and a happy narrative that takes you there. It's not a narrative of chaos and destruction and war. All of that is part of the old ways, okay? That's in the past, right? Thousands and thousands of years we've done that. I don't know if you realized, but it doesn't work, okay? So, this is an illusion. You might call pacifism like a coward's tactic, but it's not pacifism, because your power is in just chilling out. It's like when a child comes to you and tries to, I don't know, slap you or something. Are you going to start retaliating? Or are you going to ignore him? Where is the power in that situation? Is it in you fighting a child? Or is it in you ignoring him and getting back to your best life? And as always, thank you for watching.